Hello and welcome to the Vandal Factory podcast. If you're new to the podcast, we talk about arts and we talk about activism. Normally, the Vandal Factory podcast is myself, Henry Raby, and Natalie Quatermass. However, Nat can't make it today, so this is a Henry Raby solo mission because I am going to Bradford for a cool exhibition on political pins. It's at the Peace Museum and it's part of Bradford 2025. It's by local instigators Summat, and they've got a load of incredible artists to celebrate the political pin badge. You know, those little pins that say, ban the bomb, musicians against the bomb, give peace a chance for goodness sake. So I'm going to go to the launch of their exhibition. Hopefully going to chat to them, maybe some of the artists, and I'm going to be inspired because I have a memory when I was a kid. I just covered my backpack in badges. I've got a Free Palestine and Refugees Welcome badges on my bag, on my backpack. I love a good pin badge. I love wearing badges. So I'm really looking forward to going along and seeing this cool exhibition. Cool, right. I'm off to Bradford. Get my seatbelt in. For a bit of sound effects. Safety first. Let's go. So I made it to the Peace Museum here in Shipley, in the Bradford area. And at this beautiful exhibition, there are a series of huge pins, bigger than my head, and I've got a pretty big head. These badges have been designed by a whole host of amazing DIY artists, including Crime and Black Lodge Press. One of them is a lovely licky dog who is pissing on a bomb, and it says, "Good boys against the bomb." One is a beautiful dolphin, a big pink dolphin, Dolphins for Peace. One of these huge badges is the beautiful Peace Dove, which has seen its place on so many different Palestine demonstrations, ceasefire demonstrations at the moment. There's a Gnomes Against Bomb, where a little gnome chap is smashing a rifle. They come in all sorts of colours, and they're all in your face. They're bold, they're bright, they're beautiful. I'm just going to read the words on the exhibition wall by Charlotte Hall, who's the curator of the Peace Museum. She says, "The purpose of a badge is to communicate a message with others, to show who or what you stand for. They are used as a symbol. They're an important tool in the peace movement, and there's over 2,000 in this collection. Peace activists were not the first to use badges to represent or promote their cause. Their origins can be traced as far back as the late Middle Ages, when they were worn by lords to identify their loyalties. The CND logo, or the symbol for nuclear disarmament, is known as a peace symbol. The symbol was designed in 1958 by artist Gerald Horton, and he deliberately never applied any copyright to the symbol so it could be freely used by anyone and everyone. And it incorporates a semaphore letters N and D for nuclear disarmament." On a recent episode of the Vandal Factory podcast, we chatted to Bruce Kendrick, who is an amazing nature photographer, and he talks about how he was influenced by the CND movement and that bold, bright symbol. In the 1980s, it became a bit of a joke in the Leeds CND movement that you would take anyone of any background and say they were against the bomb. Batman and Robin against the bomb, cyclists against the bomb, real ale drinkers against the bomb, aging hippies against the bomb, vegetarians against the bomb, and I can say without any shadow of doubt that we are podcasters against the bomb.
My name's Alasdair Beal. I live in Leeds in Yorkshire. My career's been as a professional civil and structural engineer, but I've also been involved in the campaign for nuclear disarmament for many years. And the badges started just as a little bit of amusement in about 1981, and it was one of these bits of amusement that then got out of hand. There was a big upsurge in the campaign, and it's absolutely serious. But I've always felt, and quite a few others did too, that just because it's a serious issue doesn't mean you have to be dead serious all the time. And in fact, if you put a bit of humour and or oddball ideas in, it people drop their defences, and you can get, and often it gets through to them more. Whereas if you were just giving them a terribly serious lecture all the time, they put their hands over their ears and go down the pub or something. These serious issues can be very overwhelming, and a bit of light relief helps you stay sane. I had this idea, which was in the late 70s, there had been the Anti-Nazi League, which was very serious, and they put out serious badges like teachers against the Nazis or civil servants against the Nazis and so on, all very serious. And I thought, well, why can't we have things like real ale drinkers against the bomb? And then once one idea gets going, you have another one. Thought special branch are slipping into our meetings to spy on us. Why not sell them badges? Do a badge for them to buy. So there was special branch against the bomb. And then my friend Helen Jenner, she was a bit of a cat lover, and she says, can we have cat lovers against the bomb? And well, all right, if you wanted. The thing is, for a badge, you can have an idea, but it's got to be an idea for what the badge is saying, but it's got to combine with the design, the graphics, so that the picture does a lot of the talking for you. And sometimes that comes easily, and sometimes it takes a while. And we made a short run of them and they sold. So we made some more and they sold. And then they sold and they sold. And then there were requests for other badges. There were ideas for other badges. But that's how it started. I mean, the more recent Batman films are terribly serious. I wouldn't do a badge for them nowadays. Once upon a time, in the course of my work, I remember I was up in Northallerton and I had to go to a post office. And in those days, there were queues in post offices. And I was standing in the queue in the post office, and I turned around and I noticed that the bloke standing behind me was wearing one of my badges. And I thought, it doesn't get any better than that. Sometimes you do things because the opportunity's there. And that symbol that Gerald Holton produced back, 1959 or something, is an absolute gift to a graphic designer, because it tells people what you're talking. I mean, the problem in designing a badge is you've got this circle less than 40 millimeters diameter, and it's got to catch some people's eye and tell them something in a glance. And that symbol does so much of the work for you that you can then fill in the other bits and play around with it. And there's the number of posters and badges and so on over the years that have all been made possible by that symbol is extraordinary. Yeah, I don't think I could have done the badges without the symbol. I feel almost to stay sane, you've got to be trying to do something about some of the mad things that are going on in the world. And if that means producing badges like well-meaning Guardian readers against the bomb or aging hippies against the bomb, helping other people to stay sane while we're all trying to do something about it, that's where we go. The badges were the main thing I did, but then there were a couple of other spin-offs. One font was an odd spin-off that friends used to take some of them to America when they visited it, and they took box of badges. And unbeknownst to me, a group in Nebraska took a liking to cat lovers against the bomb. And since the early 80s, every year they've produced a cat lovers against the bomb calendar. And that's so sweet. In the early 2000s, there's still a lot of stuff going on, war in space, and they called it the Star Wars Initiative. And I designed a badge which became a t-shirt, a No Star Wars one, which wasn't about the film, it was about the weapons. And that took off for a while, and Tom York of Radiohead wore it to every one of his gigs for 6 months, which was great. And the one we've got going just now is beer mats, real ale drinkers against the bomb beer mats. And basically we take them around independent bars give them some beer mats. They put them out on the tables, and why not? and it being 2025, they're high-tech beer mats. They've got a QR code on them. So if the person at the pub likes the beer mat, they turn it over, they pop their phone on the QR code, and it links them to a CND website where they can find out what's going on and get active. And it's a wee bit of humour. You get under people's defences. They open themselves up a little, and that can take you a lot of places. There was, in the late 50s, early 60s, there was a great satirist, Tom Lehrer, who died only a month or two ago. He was well through his 90s, very clever man. He was an academic at Harvard, but he had a spell in the late 50s and early 60s where he wrote a whole very catchy, wicked, satirical songs on a wide variety of subjects. And the one that came to my mind was he did one about the bloke who's been told to get in his airplane and go off and drop an atomic bomb on Russia. And it's a song to his mum. He says, "So long, Ma, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me."
So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But while you swelter down there in your shelter, you can watch me on your TV. While we're attacking frontally, watch Brinkley and Huntily describing contrapuntily the cities we have lost. No need for you to miss a minute of the agonizing Holocaust. Yeah! Little Johnny Jones, he was a U.S. pilot, and no shrinking violet was he. He was mighty proud when World War III was declared. He wasn't scared, no siree. And this is what he said on his way to Armageddon. So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But though I may roam, I'll come back to my home, although it may be a pile of debris. Remember, Mommy, I'm off to get a commie, so send me a salami and try to smile somehow. I'll look for you when the war is over, an hour and a half from now.
Some of the artwork is so bold. So Landon Sheely has this beautiful piece which is a skeleton, and there are flowers, bright red flowers growing out of the skeleton. It says, "You are still alive." Crime has this sort of broken, rusting CND symbol, but it says, "No peace without liberation." Knit and Destroy have knitted their giant pin badge, and it says, "Can't kill the spirit," with a web, a spider's web. Bunty May from Arcane and Fable and Quaist Zine have the beautiful Love, Law, Hate War in their beautiful scrawling, spirally style. Bob and Rosetta Thorpe-Smith have just a really simple design. It says, "Make art, not war," and I couldn't agree more. Okay, so hello, I'm here backstage behind the scenes of the exhibition, in the bowels of the Peace Museum, and I'm with the lovely Mech Summat. Can you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what Mech Summat is?
I'm Jenna and I'm half of Mech Summat, and Mech Summat is a celebration of the underdog and art that's not shite. Am I allowed to swear?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, because you fucking can.
Oh, great, yes. Yes. Right.
Hello, my name's Adam, and I am the other half of Mech Summat. And someone just asked us what Mech Summat did, and I had no answer. But Freddie from Thank said that we do DIY, but it's for everybody, and not just punks. And I thought that was quite nice.
We've also got a bonus guest, which is a little dog. Hello, who's this little doggy?
Crumpet.
Hi, Crumpet.
She's the brains behind the operation.
She looks very in thought.
Yes, she is.
But we've also got another bonus guest. It's CJ.
Hello. I was asked to do an art piece for the exhibition. So mine is just, it's an upside down smiley face and it says, "There will be no convenient apocalypse." Another joyful bit of propaganda. It's inspired by a Piss Gene song, very good Piss Gene song. And I just thought it was like quite a funny refrain because it's, the end of the world isn't something that just happens to poor people. If it's the end of the world, it's going to happen to everybody. So, we're all fucked. Not just the fucking rich cunts. Well, can I say that? But yeah, so I just thought it was quite a good refrain because, apocalypse in any kind of variety fucks over everybody. So,
Well, we're here in the fight against that. Can you tell us about Pins for Peace and this exhibition, how it came about and what the ethos is behind it?
So I think it's kind of 9 months in the actual planning, but I think the idea of doing something like this has sort of just always been like a long-term goal. I think we started Make Summat without like a roadmap, but this feels like a kind of pinnacle thing for us. I think it was a chance just to work with a lot of people that we really admire.
So the theme is, because it's in the Peace Museum, we wanted people to submit a design of what peace means for them. And thankfully we were all sort of on the same page with it. And I think especially now where everything just seems so fucked and we're all so overwhelmed with catastrophic events that we're seeing unfold every day, like it seems more important than ever to put our points of what peace is like to the world, to get people thinking about it. It's so easy to become desensitized to images of people on fire and stuff, and it should be the opposite of that. So we've wanted to put a more positive sort of spin on it as well. Would you say that's a thing?
It's been quite interesting for us because you don't think of peace as a controversial subject, but it was interesting trying to get the badges out into the public realm. Like how many organisations, how many buildings, like we can't touch that because it's political. And even we worked in a high school recently where the peace sign was on the same list as a swastika. And, it was classed as an extremist view. So I think when you realise that, it's like really sobering that it should even be contentious. So the chance to do something like this just seemed like a good opportunity.
Going back to those symbols and going into a school and showing like young people seeing that for the first time, do you remember the first time that you saw badges and these symbols and did they have that effect on you? I remember wearing a C&D badge when I was sort of student in the late 2000s, and I didn't even really know it was C&D. I think my mum said, "Oh, that's C&D," and then explained it's literally the letters. But that's the education, because it means peace, right? So what's that origin for you of discovering this language of peace, of protest?
I think my sort of initial introduction to it was, I think Adam and CJ have a lot more they're more politically minded and punk orientated and stuff, whereas for me it was more aesthetic, and when I was about 8 I was just a weird little hippie in flares and tie-dyes when no one else was. And then I just specifically remember being in Saltaire, at a shop in Saltaire, and my dad bought me a friendship bracelet and a little peace badge that I had on my tie-dye t-shirt, and I knew what it meant immediately without being told for some reason. And then I think just having been surrounded by people who don't treat each other like shit also reinforced like the meaning of the peace sign. I didn't know anything about C&D, and I actually didn't until a few years ago, which is quite embarrassing. But I think if you're peacefully minded anyway, it resonates more with you.
It's the power of those images, right? CJ, do you have anything on that about images?
Yeah, and for me, I was politically radicalized by my sister when I was really young, 7 or 8 years old. So I was kind of prepped for that kind of stuff as I got older. But then I remember I was probably, I would be 14 when the Iraq War started. And so that was even though I was politically active and, interested in anarchy and all that kind of stuff, and I guess that was like a bit of a point in terms of anti-militarism, anti-war, and like the kind of history of that movement. And yeah, I joined CND when I was like 13, 14, I think, and you get like a little badge in the post, and I was like, yes, like, because I think where I lived, like at that time in the kind of the wilds of West Cumbria, like there wasn't any way you could go and like see that kind of stuff, or like like get a I don't know, like a punk t-shirt or a protest, whatever. So to get something like that in the post that you could like put on your school jumper was like, yes, like
that is like a legacy. I mean, here at the exhibition from the archives, there's badges from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're so quite fun, I think. Some are quite silly, like Morris Dancers for Peace and Schizophrenic. Is it something like Schizophrenics for Peace?
Schizoids are in two minds about the bomb, is it? Yeah.
I don't think you could get away with today, but it is. But I was going to say, I think as well, like I think pin badges were like that pre-internet era of just like immediate kinship. I always think now, like so many of the friends I've got.
No.
I've not slept.
Can I finish that sentence?
Yeah.
I think as well, like, pre-internet, I've got similar sort of stories with like where you identify people through what merch, like just seeing someone on a train and seeing a patch they had on the bag, and you're like, I have to be friends with that person because this stuff's not widely available, so I know they're not a twat, and they're into the same stuff as me. And it was like these little badges and patches of like little beacons of hope in their own way, because I'm sure we all grew up, I think when you're sort of inclined to be like, you like peace and CND and you're anti-war and you don't sort of fall for the usual propaganda, you patches and pins are like a beacon to you, like you see them from a distance and you go, oh my God, there's someone there that's like me. And I know that we're going to be best friends. Is that what the line you were going down? Yeah.
And I think the other thing is like the Peace Museum is just a place for that. And we've met so many lovely people here. And people who gravitate here tend to be of a like mind. And it won't be 100% overlap, but you just know that you'll find common ground. And like the last exhibition here about Greenham, and the closing ceremony for that with the Commoners Choir was the same Saturday that there was the Unite the fucking Flag thing in London. And we were here, and I think to walk out of here and have felt that, and then see that on the news, you realise how valuable places like this are, really.
I think all artists, all movements use symbols, right? Like the right are used. We had this conversation before, me and CJ, about the English cross, St George's Cross, and like different movements. So the Commoners Choir have made a tapestry where they're reclaiming it and they use the language more in common, whereas I know other people are like, it's the butcher's apron, tear down the Union Jack. Billy Bragg has a whole thing about it. And at the same time, we use like symbols in such a way of like peace or justice, or the Palestinian flag being this controversial thing. And I suppose what we're doing here is like playing, creating, carrying on that legacy. You've got some fantastic activities for the children to create their own illustrations and images. I guess just talk us through some of the activities that are here today, just to finish off this chat. What can people do if they pop down to this exhibition?
So today we've got Draw Along with Drew Millward, who is an amazing artist, and he's making one really long, like a protest banner, which is like a parade. So people are drawing their own characters on it and their own little peace signs and stuff on that. And then there's portraits by Bobby Ray, who is like bear cubs. And they can get the portraits done on like a blank somebody against the bomb type template of a badge. And then there's badge making, and I think that's it for the activities, but all like super good eggs helping to promote the same message and indoctrinate children into being nice, which is really fucking controversial, isn't it? Not having a warmongering child.
Can I make a podcasters against the bomb threat? Is that all right? Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about the topic or the exhibition?
Because I've got to whiz off, but I just want to say that, like, for me, this isn't really about the exhibition as such, but like, I've been like immersed in DIY culture for like over 20 years, and for me, Jenna and Adam and like what they do as Mech Summat is just like the most wonderful thing, because it's like it's just the celebration of DIY art and DIY culture in like the best way. And it's like, I've been thinking about this, like the far right, they don't have any culture like that. It's just like a celebration of a dead flag and like a dead idea of what their history was. But like we actually have a culture, and it's not something that can be like bought or sold. Like when you go to like a big gig and you pay 50 quid to see some fucker. This is like real culture made by real people, celebrating joy and resistance and everything. So I just want to say a big shout out to to Jenna and Adam. I'll put it all in a poster. Yeah, it's gonna be text heavy, but yeah, fuck capitalism and DIY culture forever, because these two are the babes. They're the babes of DIY culture. So thank you.
They're the babes. They're the babes. Well, on that note, let's hear a piece of music. What songs do you think the world should be listening to right now? What would you recommend? Could be a mate's band, or it could be something that really inspired you from the past, or just something that you think is related to the exhibition. Whatever you guys want.
I would like you to play Tiny Tim, Sunshine Cake, because it is one of the greatest songs in the world ever, and he was the epitome of being an absolute weirdo and just believing in what he did and pushing it to the nth degree. And even though he just sounds like a really creepy ghost on all his records, if I'd have had his records as a child, I would have just died and gone to heaven. And I love him, so please play that. Sunshine Cake, Tiny Tim. Thank you.
I would go with any Avail song, but maybe Model, because I just think Avail were one of those bands that taught me what DIY was. And it's, can't get better than that.
Kiddies, let's all get together. I've got good news for you. We're going to bake a cake. What kind of a cake is it? Well, it's a different sort of cake. It's a sunshine cake. A sunshine cake, yes. And here's how we do it. We ought to bake a sunshine cake. It does more good than a big, thick steak. Start with a tablespoon of trouble, then add a smile and let it bubble up. We ought to bake a sunshine cake. It isn't really so hard to make. Fresh tears, I'll take those little tears and add a pound or two of pleasure. Kind words, you even use a measure cup. Now it's not from a recipe book, and you don't have to be a good cook or run to the oven and look. With such a simple dish, all you do is wish. So why not bake a sunshine cake? Of course it may keep your dreams awake. Friends say there's nothing like the flavor. Don't wait to do your friends a favor. And for goodness sake, let's bake a sunshine cake. Oh, look at that sun coming on me. I can see it gleaming. Look at that sun. Oh, what a lovely tasty cake. Oh, and listen here. Vitamins A, vitamins B, vitamins LOOVE. If you're fat, it's for that. If you're thin, stuff it in. What's wrong if you get a double grin? Oh, we're off to bake a sunshine cake. It does more good than a big, thick steak. Friends say there's nothing like the flavor. Don't wait, come on, do your friends a favor. And for goodness sake, what are you waiting for? Let's bake a sunshine cake. Howdy, son.
Just walking back to the car now. What a beautiful, powerful, potent exhibition. What a load of lovely people as well. Just set the scene. There were loads of children there doing fun crafting activities, taking photos, soaking in the artwork. I think, reflecting on it, that the idea of war, especially nuclear Armageddon, is absolutely batshit. And the idea of peace is not an outlandish, fringe, bizarre concept. The idea that we should live in peace is a very normal, rational thing. The use of artwork to convey that, the normalising of it, to make it feel like you're part of the gang, you got the badge on, you're part of the tea drinkers for peace, or you're part of the Musicians for Peace movement, we're all just pulling in the same direction for peace. And sometimes this artwork can be really in your face. The exhibition actually bumped into friend of the show, Boff Wally, from Commoners Choir and Chumbawamba. And I was thinking so much about their music is really raggy and in your face with anarchist lyricism. And I was thinking about a lot of other protest songs and protest artwork like CJ from Black Lodge Press, how their artwork is just so striking. It's like being clipped round the ear and going, pay fucking attention because this matters, right? But other ones can be fun and playful and gentle. I think the idea of not dying in a nuclear Armageddon does create a coalition of people from all different aspects, all different sides of the political spectrum. It's a fight for us all. It's a fight for life. It's a fight for humanity. So thank you very much to the Mech Summat duo for meeting with us and chatting. I really much appreciated it. If you're interested in other episodes about visual art, we interviewed CJ from Black Lodge Press back in episode 16, and I don't think we talk as much about visual art. Me and Natalie are more into the performing arts. So if you've got anyone you think, you should talk to these people about their visual artwork, let us know. Get in touch. Subscribe. Tell your friends. We don't get any funding for doing the Vandal Factory podcast. We don't get any sponsorship. So it really helps us when you, the dear listener, does a bit of word of mouth and tells their friends, pops the episodes in the old WhatsApp group, share on social media. We're on all the usual social media platforms. I'm going to have a drive back home. Probably listen to a few political bangers. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode. This has been a Factory Floor Cut of the Vandal Factory podcast. Peace out!